Greetings, Moonlight Citizens. Welcome back. This is your Moonlight Kingdom Podcast, and I am the host, your man on the moon, the Moonlight King here, bringing you episode 111. Ooh, I freaking love it. Which is pretty fitting that these ones, if you line them up against each other, tilt them to the side a little bit, they look like sevens, because that's one of the things we discuss on this one. Seven, David Fincher's Seven, starring Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. Oh, not just that, another Fincher classic discussed in this one is Fight Club, starring Brad Pitt and what's that guy's name? Ed Norton. Yeah, Edward Norton. What a quinkydink. Two Fincher classics, two Brad Pitt starring movies, two movies with a villain and a hell of a twist behind them. We shall dive into that right now, right here in this episode. We discuss many things involving Seven, but that'll get into that in 3, 2, 1. Boom.
And I don't know, it seemed cool and gimmicky, but at the end it just seemed so rushed. And I understand that it was rushed because it was impactful now, like he went after his wife, you know what I mean? Like, okay, when I was watching it, I'm thinking, okay, he has two human beings in this trailer, you know, there's two doors, maybe, I don't know. It looked like a big enough trailer to keep two humans. I was like looking at the power lines and thinking, is somebody hanging somewhere? Like, what are the last two? I know one is vengeance and one is, what was it? Envy. It's like, I don't know. Because it's a trailer park and, you know, poor people. Maybe one of them was in the trailer because they were envious of richer people. I don't know. And then when I found out it was his wife's head in the box, I was shocked. That was crazy. I was also upset that they didn't show it because I wanted like confirmation. I mean, I'm just saying they showed all these gruesome scenes, right? But they didn't show that.
The beheading? Well, to be fair, they never showed him killing anybody.
Okay, yeah, but he did kill those people. Like, he did some crazy
known. This isn't exactly a secret. He did kill those people, but we don't see him kill anybody. It wouldn't make much sense to just suddenly drop that. Yeah, the aftermath. That's the point.
But we didn't see the aftermath of the last death. So I was so confused because I was thinking, what is in the box? At first, I thought it was the heads of the dogs. To be honest, that's what I thought.
Well, that's a bit weak.
I thought, okay, usually they go for the animals because they feel like it's a lesser blow in cinema than like a human being. So I thought, okay, maybe. But then I looked at the time of the movie. I'm saying it's going to end now. There's no way. Because if it's the animals, then the wife is hidden somewhere and there's going to be a race for time to save her or something like that. But it ended up being the wife and he ended up being the last sin. You know what I mean? And he punished him by turning him into that sin. Because it was a punishment at the end of the day. Yes, it wasn't like bodily punishment where he was being the one physically punished, but his wife was. And that's crazy. But that was a sick man, let me tell you. A sick man.
Well, yeah, the fact that we don't even see him until the third act really adds to, like, the tense nature of the story, because by the point he shows up, even when he arrives, you could tell, like, he planned all of this. Everything was down to, like, you know, when and where everything happened. He planned it all.
He's a very intelligent person. Obviously, because not only did he, plan and succeed at these murders, but he was, okay, not really, to be honest, because they were able to find out his place of residence. So he's not that genius. All they needed to do was meet up with that guy and find out who's been taking out all these books from the library, and then they caught him. I'm just saying, if I was him, I would get the library card under another name and another address. You know what I mean? That makes more sense.
You can't get a library card without giving your name and a current phone number. So,
do you think his name was Jonathan Doe?
No.
John Doe. No, so obviously he made a fake ID. You can't make a fake ID for the library.
Yeah, but the phone number and address stuff, if you fake that shit, then they won't.
Oh,
That's the
never.
shit you have trouble faking, especially in the 90s. Keep in mind, this isn't today. This is the 90s.
But he did
Burner
so
phones
many
weren't
ups
really a
and
thing. You needed a landline.
exactly. So it was probably easier to get away with stuff. I'm just saying it was kind of stupid, to be honest, the way he handled it. I'm just saying, if I was him, I would do something. I don't know. Get another landline. Get another phone that's registered to another residence. Get another ID. There was like a two like for the build up for what a great villain serial killer this guy was. He was so smart. He got away with so many murders. To be caught out like so quickly, and yes, they didn't get him. He got away. But the fact that his place, his residence, usually it's towards the end of the movie where these sick people, their hideout and where they do their stuff is revealed. This was like in the midst of the movie, and then he just turned himself in. And I understand, yes, because he would always planned to die at the end. He saw himself as a tool for God to punish these people and to send a message to the world. But also, like, it was crazy. I didn't like it, to be honest. I can't watch it again. It will irritate me. You get movies you can watch again. Like Fight Club, you can watch again. I love Fight Club. I can watch it over and over again. But Seven, I can't watch again.
I'd argue Seven has more going on than Fight Club in regards to like the theology behind the serial killer and the world that the movie is set in. You don't even know what city this is. Like it's got a name online. They called it Los Angeles, York. Cause like look at this fucking place. There's no clear identifying markers of where anything is. The license plates don't give anything away. The badges don't say anything. You know they're cops, but you don't know what force they're on. Like, it's just happening in some vague, like, timeless era and location in the way things are going on. Not literally timeless, because you still have landlines and payphones and stuff like that, but, like, yeah, it exists in a world outside of ours that's so dark and dreary and miserable. And you don't just see that, you hear it too. There's never a quiet moment anywhere. There's always some kind of noise or chaos going on in the background.
I don't know.
And the rain.
Another movie.
Don't forget the rain. It was always raining.
Okay, true. I don't know. Fight Club is just better. The overall plot, the twist. Both of them have major twists, right? But Fight Club's twist is way better than Seven. Anyways, maybe I just like it. Another movie I watched recently was Basic Instinct. I'm really into like 90s thrillers recently. I don't know why. I just like the vibe of it. And Sharon Stone, I loved her acting in it. Obviously, she was the driving force of it, and you didn't really see many female villains. Like
doubling back, yeah, you don't see a lot of bisexual villains in stories because that's a bit of a landmine in and of itself, because you can't really. Well, nowadays you can't really make a LGBT character the bad guy without people coming for you and having the idea that, oh, so you think all LGBT people are like this, eh? You can't really do that.
See, now you can't even make cool villains.
It is what it is. It's a concern, because every villain nowadays is just, oh, they're misunderstood, or, oh, they have some tragic backstory, like, except...
I hate villains. Here's the thing. Yes, okay, my villain in the story has a tragic background. I understand that. But also, I prefer... What do you prefer? Do you prefer villains who are driven by some kind of personal vendetta? Like, something happened to them in childhood, they had an unfair life, and, okay, they're taking it out. And really what they're doing is opposing a government that's using its power for corrupt reasons. But, it is the government at the end of the day, and people respect it. So, down with the villain. Or do you prefer objective villains that are like,
I miss
it
the
must be
villains
done?
who were just straight up evil. I miss guys, movies having villains like John Doe in Seven. That guy didn't have no. That guy, okay, they made a prequel comic book that explained, who John Doe was. That came out years later, years after the movie came out. And it's from the perspective of John Doe, and it shows his life as a prequel. Those prequel comics ruin him as a bad guy because they explain shit. If you watch the movie, you'll see that there's not much explaining going on. This is a dude who believes in the Bible and believes in sins, and he's going after people who commit sins. That's all that we need. We don't need to hear that his mommy was some Bible-thumping, lunatic who punished him and warped his reality and shit. We don't need to hear that. It's unnecessary.
Yeah, but that's going to be said for Fight Club, because who is the villain in Fight Club but tylerdurden himself, or the narrator? He is the villain.
Let me ask you this. What's his name?
He doesn't have a name. Does he? What
do you mean, does he? You saw the movie. What do you mean, does he?
He doesn't have a name. He's the narrator. Or he's tylerdurden.
No, he's tylerdurden. That's a personality in his fucking head.
But that's his real self, to be honest. It is him.
How you forget the main character's name? He talks the whole freaking movie. He's in every scene. How do you not know what his name is?
It's from his perspective.
So what's his name then?
Isn't his name Jack or something?
Are you sure?
It's something like that. I remember the only instance where we got his name was when his boss was talking to him. Isn't it Jack?
He says it a bunch of times when he says like, I am Jack's lack of surprise. Although he is officially listed as the narrator.
Yeah, but he isn't. The thing is, the Fight Club, they take away importance of names. Names are just a label.
When a member of Project Mayhem dies, his name is Robert Palmer. Except in that case, that's when a name matters.
But then, at that point, he was in denial, let's be honest. He was heartbroken because he thought he was abandoned by Tyler. And then he realized, wait, I am Tyler. And he was going through like psychosis at that point, you know what I mean? So we can't really take him seriously at that point. But when you think about it, he is the villain of the story. He is the terrorist that is terrorizing the city. Just because it's placed in his point of view, we end up rooting for him. But he is the villain. And what childhood did he have? I mean, when we look at him at the beginning, he earns a lot of money, let's be honest. He has a pretty good job. He lives in a building with a doorman. His house is fancy. He can afford, the nice things. And all that happens is he becomes bored with his life. That's like the big turning point of it all. That he realizes this trap that society has been playing on him, that he's been playing all along, this game, of collecting, of working hard, this rat race that he's trying to be a part of. But he is a successful person by societal standards. And, he doesn't have much like external challenges as would a regular vanilla hero have. He's very privileged, if you ask me.
He is miserable. I don't know what movie you watched, but that man was miserable, stuck in a dead-end job.
But at the end of the day, he's a successful person.
A miserable guy making coffees in an office building in what is pretty much a dead-end job, spending his days staring at the TV screen, and you're like, he's a pretty privileged dude, like...
He is a pretty privileged because there's people in the world that are dying who wish they had a boring job to go to every day, a well-furnished apartment to sleep in. He's a privileged dude. Like
You
there's
mean the
characters
apartment
out
that ends
there
up going up in smoke?
that he planned. He did it to himself.
And I don't know what you're talking about with this nice house of his. He lives in a dump.
He lives in an apartment with a
No,
doorman.
not the fucking apartment. The house, the actual house he lives in. It's a fucking dump.
Yes, he chose that. He chose that. Hello. Before, his life was very privileged. Yes, he worked in a boring, mundane, unexciting job that just paid the bills. It wasn't exciting in any way. He was a risk manager, for God's sake, you know. That's probably the most boring thing ever. And he created this because he was too afraid to step out of his shell. That his subconscious created Tyler Durden to basically force him to be something he's not.
One would argue
like
Insomnia did more to create Tyler Durden than anything.
Exactly. But the point is that Tyler Durden was a figment of his imagination that his consciousness created to be able to guide him out of this boring life. But he was the one that set up the explosion. He was the one that created this underground fighting ring. He's the one that eventually turned it into a full-force terrorist organization planning an attack on the city. He's a very privileged person at the end of the day, and a very sick mind.
Yeah, it's really funny looking at the movie once you know the twist and you see that all this started with a dude punching himself in the middle of a parking lot.
Exactly. And the men just went along with this. I'm just saying, realistically, you saw somebody punching themselves in a parking lot, you'd avoid it because you think that person is crazy. They escaped the asylum.
You think they were a random loon just losing their mind out in the middle of the street. You wouldn't be going over and like, hey, let me get in on this.
But that just shows you the power of the mind. If you believe you are doing something great, you are doing it. Like, it's like, you know that case about that man who tried to kill himself and he took vitamins or something, but because he believed they were sleeping tablets, his body was actively shutting down because of belief alone. And he called the ambulance because he changed his mind. He was like, oh wait, I don't actually want to die. And when they came, he was actively dying, even though he took vitamins. He didn't take the sleeping tablets.
That's what's called a placebo.
Exactly. But the point is the power of the mind. If you actually believe you can do it, you're going to do it.
Or it's just the showing the level of gullibility that permeates today's society, that people will follow anybody who seems to know what he's doing.
People are called, to be honest. We've seen it. You know, something that I always think about when I take humans seriously is the whole Stanley Cup situation. Remember when that cup came out, how many people ran for them, including
Mostly
here in
women.
South Africa? Mostly women, true. But a lot of men as well, surprisingly. And I just always think about that the whole hype behind a water bottle. And there's been this overriding importance on hydration in this generation compared to others. Like, yes, people drank water, but they didn't like carry a big, huge water bottle with them. You know what I mean? They drank it when they could, and they went about life. Most of the time, they were consuming like coffee or something, or tea. I think compared to us, we drink a lot more water than our parents did. But because, I don't know, like social media has been pushing this need for hydration and using these fancy little water bottles as a reinforcement. You know, you need the perfect water bottle to ensure you hydrated every day, every second of every day. It's like a whole plot. It's because they wanted to sell more water bottles that they created this whole hype up behind being hydrated. And that's like cult-like behavior. You have a solution with no problem, so you create the problem in order to sell the solution.
Except in this
That's great.
case, in the case of Fight Club, the movie lays out its fucking mission statement. They're like, well, we got an entire generation of angry men who are disappointed with their lives and feel like, I don't know, they feel like they were ripped off,
Yeah.
basically. They feel like society has screwed them over because they were all raised to believe that they would be movie stars and rock stars and famous people and they would lead lives of note, only to discover now that they're adults that their lives are very mundane, very boring, and very uneventful. Along comes a dude promising to give them some kind of purpose, an avenue with which they can vent all the frustrations they have with their life, and beyond that, a reason to live, aside from just beating people up in a dingy basement. And that's when they all become part of Project Mayhem. Because at the end of the day, it feels good to be part of a group. No matter how fucked up the group may be, it feels good to be part of something. To know that you matter. It's good when someone makes you feel like you're important. Especially when your life makes you feel like you aren't.
Yeah, but that's like a very privileged mentality, to be honest. Imagine being sad about, oh, the TV lied to you. That's very crazy. There's people actually dying, going through hardship out there. I think it's a very privileged way of things. Another one that I would say has a very privileged protagonist or antagonist is Death Note. Like, Lightyagami was very privileged. He was a very smart kid. He came from a loving household with, they provided for him. And he was incredibly intelligent. And yes, he was pushed to be that intelligent. And he saw the Death Note not just as a way to, I suppose, impose his superiority over people, but also as an escape from this purposeless life he's led. But another form of privilege, honestly.
Not
it became
necessarily.
Less about,
and not always.
No, but I think, okay, at the beginning, Lightyagami wanted to, okay, he was like, some people don't deserve to love. I am the God who will make that decision for them and remove them because the actual God won't. So I'm going to do it for the people. And yes, he killed a whole lot of bad people, politicians, criminals. And then when he met Al, it became less about that and more about proving that he was the smartest. This was his game, and everybody was just pawns in it, including Al himself. And to be honest, after Al died, Lightyagami lived a very purposeless life, like until Nia and the organization eventually, caught up to him. Like, he lived a very boring life after that. So it was all about the excitement of Al. He, killed the one person that brought light into his life, unironically. The first person who could, challenge him,
But yeah, this
Crazy.
ain't that. This ain't that. This isn't some... With a movie like Fight Club, which is also a David Fincher film, like Se7en, with those characters, none of these people are actually people who come from privilege. You say it's a privileged mindset, but the idea that your existence is mundane correlates with this feeling of pointlessness, having no direction in life. There's gonna be every dude living that lifestyle has at one point asked themselves, is this it? Is this all my life is gonna be? I expected more. That feeling of uselessness. You don't get it. You don't understand. So, being made to feel like there's nothing more to life than this, it's terrible.
Yeah, I understand it. And it's an awful cage that we've accepted, to be honest. Because at the end of the day, if the people truly united and brought down the big man on top, we could prevail. But because of our cult-like mentality and our belief that we are truly powerless in this, none of that will happen. But again, it is a mindset. Lots of people call me a nihilist, that I very negative in the way I speak and the way I think. But I think my negativity allows for the acceptance of the reality of life. Like, if anything, I fear happiness sometimes, because yes, happiness is great. You know, those highs you feel when you've met somebody you like, or you're having a new experience. But there's also beauty in the darkness of life as well. In knowing that, you know, we came from the darkness, because that's what we did. We popped out of this dark abyss, and that's where we'll return to one day, of non-existence. But it's okay to also think that way. And I think when you understand the pessimism of life, you are the one that chooses to create meaning in it. You know what I mean? You choose to turn it around, like, because life is so meaningless, and you know, it is whatever. We're gonna die. Life is gonna suck. You can make that decision to create meaning for yourself, and that's what people need to understand. But instead, people become addicted to their sadness, and that's the issue.
Did you really pay attention to the man's speech in that movie, or was you too busy staring at his abs? Like,
No, obviously, I agree somewhat to Tyler Durden's philosophy, but I also feel like it's very idealistic and delusional. Like, delusions of grandeur, one of the first signs of mental illness in a person.
in a way, it predates the thing we're going through now with all those manosphere dudes and the, what do they call them? The red pills and the black pills. And
But also, the only thing that gives power to things is our attention. If you don't give attention to those things, then it goes away. Simple as that. That's just how it is. If you give your attention to feeling, oh, I don't have a place in this world, I don't have a purpose, you know, life is so mundane, then you're feeding your energy to those things. Instead, go out there, understand, yes, okay, this life that I have is not feeding me in any way. I need to destroy it to make room for a life that will. But the actual destructive part is the thing that people fear, and that's the issue. Like, that's what I like about Fight Club. And the narrator, Jack, wasn't afraid to destroy his life. He literally obliterated it. He went from living a very, as I say, privileged life, because he did have a good job. He did live in a good apartment. But he completely destroyed it for a life that may have looked ugly, but still fed him. And that's why I do like Fight Club.
I think you're missing a big detail here. I get that you grasp what Tyler Durden was saying, but I think you're missing the fact that these people weren't happy. No one is happy here. Yes, these people are employed. Yes, these people have houses, but no one is happy. This isn't what it's.
It's true, but also
the dude lays it out. I don't think you heard what he said. There's no doubt you heard what he said, but I don't think you were listening. The reason so many people were fucking.
That if I was a cult leader and I wanted people to follow me, 100% I would make people feel that their life is purposeless, and that the only way that they will achieve purpose is by following me and being part of my club. He's a predator at the end of the day. He went to all these young men who have some type of feeling. I understand the fact that the feelings were there in the first place to be preyed upon. I understand it was a societal issue. But at the same day, technically, that's crazy.
You can honestly look at a cast that includes Meatloaf and Jared Leto and say that they are young men somewhere in here.
Well, Jared Leto was pretty young in that movie, you have to admit.
You look at Meatloaf and say, yeah, that's a young man over there. Doesn't look a day over 23, huh?
And of course, you know, Brad Pitt he wasn't bad to look at during the movie. So I do like it. I also like the visuals of the movie. It's quite pretty. also very enticing. Like the message behind it is very enticing. I won't lie. That yes, we live a purposeless life, and we need to, I don't know, like rage havoc in order to punish the people who made us believe this. And yes, that is very, very, very like relevant to today's world, and that's what they have done to us. They have made us go after these things that we don't really need, but we do it anyway because this is the only way we believe that we will make something ourselves, that we will survive, that we will be a part of society, and it is a lie. But again, power takes on many forms in different societies. Once upon a time, it was skills, resources that you were able to gain for those skills in another era, and now it's money, unfortunately. The value we placed on these resources. So it's just going to be a cycle of things over and over again that take the shape of power. But power is the issue. And like in my book, for example, I wanted to take power and replace it for something else, which is responsibility. And there's a big theme of responsibility in my book, for example. Like, with the shepherd, the person who created the system in the first place, felt responsible for humanity. The humans that have removed themselves from Earth, refused to colonize any other planet, also take responsibility for their actions. My main characters themselves take responsibility for the people around them, for themselves, for humanity eventually. So, responsibility, power, it's all in one. That's the unfortunate truth of life,
I guess you missed the part where dude said the things you own end up owning you.
I do know that. That's my favorite quote from there. That's true. The things you own end up owning you.
And yet here you continue. Like, I'm trying to tell you. Like, I do get it. I'm trying to tell you the reason these people were so easily swayed by this man. He was saying all the right things. They weren't tricked. None of these men were tricked into following him.
That's what I'm trying to say. The feelings were already there to be preyed upon. But also we need to understand that we need to make that transition from being a consumer to a creator. And I understand Tyler was doing that. He was trying to create something, give people a chance to create something together, to give them a purpose. But also, these are first world problems, I have to say. Right now, as we speak, people are dying because Malaysia and their country is taking over. They're dying because of hunger, from illness, from starvation, etc.
People don't care.
The fact that we have enough time and privilege to sit around and think about ourselves and our place in the universe and our purpose is privilege in that fact.
I'm getting really tired of that same old chip of people are dying. People have been dying. People do not care. People have been dying for decades now. This story of, listen, there's this constant thing of, there's people starving in Africa. They've been saying that since the 90s, right?
Yeah, but it's true.
No, not just there's people starving. The specific line, there's children. How can you sit there and say some stuff like that? There's children starving in Africa. People are dying in the Middle East. People have been starving in Africa for decades. People have been dying in the Middle East for decades. This is not new. This is not a good excuse for anything. This does not minimize anyone's problems. All it serves to do is try to trivialize what someone is talking about because, your problem doesn't end with you dying, so it's not that bad, which is just patronizing to say the least.
I'm just trying to explain the different origins of villains. That yes, there are villains that come from a very horrible background where they're abused. And there are villains out there that came from a mundane background and whose worst enemy is themselves. They were the ones that created their suffering. Just like the narrator, just like lightyagami. They themselves were the ones that placed themselves in that position of suffering.
Yep. But in a situation like this, it's a they are placed in this suffering because it's their life. Yes, this is the life I'm living, but you
I
gotta
understand.
understand, they don't feel that way. It doesn't feel like this is the life I'm living because of choices I made. It feels like
Yeah, but
this is the life I'm stuck living. This isn't the life I was supposed to have. There's this feeling
yeah,
of I should be doing more, but I can't. And it
I feel
sucks.
like in
He even
terms of the
says it in
villain,
his fucking speech. It's right there in this. It's in the damn movie. The movie tells you what it's trying to say. It doesn't need to show you or hide it in subtext. When the
I
fucking main
understand that.
character literally looks right down the camera and says, "Hey, we were raised to think that we would do all these things, but we won't, and we're slowly learning that fact, and we're very pissed off." That's what every single one of these dudes is. Like I said, no one was tricked to be here. Everybody already had this thought in their head, like, I should be doing more with my life, but I'm not. And I'm pissed off about it, and I need to direct this anger somewhere. Along comes Tyler Durden, offering them, here's a place where you can direct your anger instead of inward, where really, for some of these people, it should be directed inward because a lot of them are to blame for their own choices. Now, he's given them this fight club. You can beat the fuck out of people you interact with in this fight club. That way, once you're done, you can just put your clothes back on and go back to life normally. And some cases better off, like some Jekyll and Hyde type shit. That's basically what he's offering. A moment in
Okay,
time where you're
but
not you. You are not your
yeah,
job.
and
You are not
point
whatever the
I'm trying,
fuck you're doing.
point I'm trying to make is that this type of villain that comes from the mundaneness and realities of a mundane life is just as bad as a villain with a sad origin story. I have to say, that's the truth. You have to admit that.
No, it's worse.
You don't agree. You think this one is better than the one that suffered.
Because this villain can come from anywhere, and he could be anyone.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like they're in the same category.
Not
It's the same
everybody has
thing
a tragic backstory.
for the
Not
ones that
every
suffered.
villain has some sob story explaining why they became a bad guy. Some people are just dicks.
So you think that the villain that came from just the mundaneness of life is just a dick?
No, a villain like Tyler Durden, depending who you ask, isn't a villain. He's just a manifestation of everything that we think but are too afraid to say. That's literally what he is. He is the fucking narrators. Everything you want to say but are too afraid to, he'll just say. Everything you want to do but are afraid to, he'll just do. That's literally what he is. It's a fucking Jekyll and Hyde story. If you boil it down, strip away all the bullshit, that's what it is at the end of the day. It's a Jekyll and Hyde story.
Yeah, but that can be said for many characters. Like, okay, we have Split, for example. Same story.
Hold up.
Just the
Hold
other
up. Before we go any
identity.
further, you do know who that is, right?
Split.
No, not Split. Jekyll and Hyde. You do know who Dr.
I
Jekyll
do
and
know
Mr.
who
Hyde
Moonlight
are.
Citizens is, but don't insult me in that way.
I
Another,
have to be sure, because people just be agreeing out here.
okay, so Split, for example. Okay, yes, not exactly two personalities, multiple, but okay, we have normal. What's his name?
Oh, the kid?
The guy.
Which one? There's
No,
like
like
7 names in there.
okay, hey, his real self. His real self is
Kevin Wendell
is
Crumb.
yeah, Kevin. Right. Kevin and the Beast are like the farthest things from the spectrum, right? So we have the original and the most disturbing manifestation of these personalities, right? That can be said for the same thing, but he came from a tragic backstory, right? So yes, he had the same mentality. Is when he was showcasing humanity's worst, most primal urges that, yes, we were trying to keep hidden and that many people didn't act upon, but it was still bringing them to light. He was a true manifestation of humanity's animalness, to be honest, I think. But still, his like background was way worse than Tyler Durden. He was abused. How that happened?
It's actually scarier. Actually, no. A Tyler Durden type character is scarier than a character like the Beast, because a character like Tyler Durden in the world we live in is real and easy to find. And worse than that, he has an easy time finding you. A character like Kevin with his multiple personalities, much less, okay, a person with multiple personalities, that's a thing. Those people exist. This is scientific fact. But one of those personalities being some all-powerful monstrosity that can tank shotgun rounds and climb up walls and fight armies of cops. Nah.
Crazy.
And all that because his dad died? That's it? That's all it takes?
Oh, not just that. His identities were manifestations of his childhood. Like, Patricia, was that her name? I think was his mother.
The mother figure, yeah.
Who did abuse him. Obviously, the kid was his child self. And the dude, what was his name? Barry. Was it Barry? The one that was all stoic.
Yeah, he would with the glasses. Yeah. He's the one who kidnapped the girls. Yeah.
I think
there's a bunch of personalities. There's one that I liked who's like all serious and shit. Cause he's like, when he talks to Anya Taylor-Joy, his arms are crossed and he's just sitting there like, you cut your hair. He's like I don't like that. He talks like he's her boyfriend or some shit. Like you changed your hair. And I don't like that dress you got on. He sounds like I don't know, like something out of a mob movie. Like, nah, you ain't going out of the house dressed like that. Like some shit.
I didn't like that movie. It gave me weird vibes because you notice like the romantic like interactions between Anya Taylor-Joy's character and his, and the fact that they were pushing that was very weird.
They were pushing that with a specific personality, not all of them, just the one.
I didn't like it, to be honest.
It's clear.
Because I just felt like
what?
No, but she was victim in all of this. Okay, she was a teenager out with her friends. Well, not out with her friends, but she was being bullied, right?
Those were not her friends.
And
I doubt she knew them that well. It was no. They even say in the beginning. They asked that one chick, "Why did you invite her?" And she says, "Like I felt sorry for her."
Because they weren't really a friend.
Yeah, at that point, it was like one of those cases where you invite everybody. You know, like, hey, everyone's invited, and then you get that one chick sitting alone in the corner. How's it gonna look if you invite everyone but her? Even if you don't know her, you gotta give her an invite to be like, hey, you know, you can come if you want. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. I just didn't like it. I didn't like it because Kevin was a grown man. Yes, he had all of these big personalities in him, including a child, but he was a grown man. It was gross. I understand, like, the fact that they chose to make this character to support his character and the interactions between them. Obviously, he could understand her plight and where she came from the most because he went through it, even though he's the villain and, you know, he's... Ooh, but it was gross. It was gross. The kissing thing grossed me out so much. I could see it happen. Like I knew what was gonna happen. Like the lead up to like number 2 was crazy. Oh God, I was so upset, to be honest.
That's the thing when you deal with like those kind of characters. I don't know, in a horror scenario, no one's really. I'm not going to say no one's done multiple personalities in a horror movie because it's likely that does exist. There's plenty of movies that do that. But rarely do you see multiple personalities in a horror movie because the movie only has one villain. But, because, I mean, yeah, it's one actor, but
It
given that it's
actually feeds
multiple
into most
personalities,
possession movies as well. When you think about it, you know, the innocent person that's possessed.
no.
So it kind of comes off as a split personality because that's what people who don't believe the possession are seeing. They're seeing this person who they thought was a stand-up citizen, you know, the neighbor's boy, the boy next door, really, you know, sweet, really a hard-working kid.
That's
And
DID.
yeah,
There's a difference.
murdering.
That would be more
So it's like,
dissociative identities than anything. In that case, the identities don't know about each other. This ain't that. Split isn't that. All these identities are well aware of one another, and you know they talk about the light. Like, oh, it's this person's time in the
I
light. And
suppose, yeah, because Tyler Durden and Jack, the narrator, they don't know of each other until they do know about each other. Then it becomes a split personality. Before that, it's disassociative because he saw them as two separate beings.
yeah, which is
Or
how they
were
were able to
disassociative.
exist in the same space at the same
Because
time.
when you think about it, not really though. It's not disassociative because they exist in the same place at the same time.
Yeah.
A disassociative is when you're switching between two; they're completely separate. So
Yeah.
what is it? Is it associative?
It's more schizophrenia than anything, because he's seeing shit that ain't there.
Yeah, but it's him. He's seeing him, or the person he wants to be, that he's emulating.
Yeah, but in cases like that, when it comes to having split personalities, they usually, not always, but usually created as a response to some kind of trauma.
Yeah, but what trauma? Okay, I know what trauma he has. But I'm just saying, okay, he's not special, right? He found a whole cult of guys that are going through the same thing as him. None of them are having the same experience.
I mean,
Okay,
not
but
necessarily, but they even say as much. Funny you mentioned the whole "the not special" bit. There's a line where he's like, "Listen up, you're not special. You're not beautiful or unique snowflake. You're the same decaying organic matter as everything else." It's important to like break people down and let them know, like, it's like what the army does when they shave everybody's head and give them all uniforms, and you know they're
yeah,
all
but then
just
the
become
message
privates
behind it
now.
was the complete opposite because Tyler was special. At the end of the day, yes, they were all going through the same plight, but he was the one with enough, I don't know, with big enough walls to actually step out of this role that society gave him. Like he literally he planned an entire, you know what I mean? Like he blew up his apartment. Which sane person does that? They orchestrate an explosion
Okay, he
to
did
push
not
you out.
blow up the apartment. He set fire to the apartment. That's a different
Okay,
thing
well
entirely.
he set an explosion. He let the gas out into the apartment. He set up
That's not that
the
impressive.
spark
Any idiot can do that. People do that by mistake.
thing. Impressive, but this was decisive decision making. He made that decision to do that. He had to go through such lengths to get out of his comfort zone in order to become this person he always wanted to be. That's what makes him special. The other people didn't do that. They didn't have balls enough to do it.
A soap salesman is special to you, huh? Also, that's another thing. That's another thing that didn't make much sense. So, it's established that Tyler Durden exists in Jack's head. Alright? Spoilers for people who haven't seen a fucking almost 30-year-old movie, but the character of Tyler Durden is not real. Are those crickets?
Are you doing a podcast?
What? I swear I hear crickets in the background. But is that on me? Is that on my end or your end?
Who knows?
Whatever. So, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So, that never really made sense. The whole soap salesman bit. Like, he knows all this stuff about soap and how soap is mostly just grease taken out of people's fat asses or whatever. But that's the thing that bothers me. If he's a figment of this man's head, how does he know all this stuff about soap and grease, and he knows who to speak to when it comes to selling grease to the damn soap companies and what the fuck ever. And he knows all this stuff about chemicals and the damage they do when they burn. He's like, if this was purely a personality that existed in Jack's head, wouldn't Jack also know this stuff? Why is all this news to him?
Because he was, I don't know, he was separating this information into a certain character that he believed was separate from him, but that he wanted to be. I don't know, split personalities work in very mysterious ways. I remember reading something about a person who had a split personality, and one of them was right-handed, one of them was left-handed, and they spoke different languages, but this person could write in the language of the person they were emulating at the time, but then they didn't know the other language. It's crazy, the things you can do, the things you can assign. Yes, the knowledge exists in your head, but because you are actively pushing it to one side, categorizing as, okay, this is for this person, this is for that personality, this is what I know when I'm this person. It's crazy, the fact that there's two people existing in one brain alone. And that's the power of the madness.
Yeah, that's the thing about old Tyler Durden. Not a whole lot of it makes sense. It starts like this simple thing of, I'm giving these people purpose, I'm giving them a reason to live beyond the simple the simple purpose of making money and living out some mundane existence. And in some Jekyll and Hyde thing, I'm allowing them to, get out all the rage and frustration they have so they can go back to their lives forever changed and better off, in some cases it seems, because no one really complains. As fucked up as people get with like black eyes and busted noses, and we see one dude with a neck brace. We see a guy working in a bar with a full fucking neck brace on. No one actually complains. No one seems unhappy with the situation. No one, even when the fucking terror shit starts, when they just become fucking homegrown terrorists, no one really bats an eyelid. They all just sort of roll with it, because it's the most interesting thing that's happened in a lot of these people's lives in years. Like, holy shit, you're asking me to become a part of a fucking domestic terror cell? I'm in! It's better than sitting at home staring at the TV.
I don't want to be a bummer, but, oh gosh, I forgot I need to do something for my mother in the kitchen. She wants me to clean mushrooms and stuff. Do you mind if we reschedule this?
No worries. I'll see you around.
Okay, I'm gonna see you.